Hey friend, I'm Taylor Cezanne, and today we're talking about the frequency of the feminine, how to connect with that pleasure energy. So what is the frequency of the feminine? I have been studying energy work and am a certified Reiki master practitioner, and have been since 2012. The energy is something that undercurrents all of the work that I do, every aspect in the way I move through my life. So really finding and playing with the balance of the feminine and the masculine is right up my alley, especially as I came into motherhood and parenthood and saw these energetics being even more important in raising a child. And that's not to say that as a female woman-bodied person that I am the feminine, or that my partner who is male is the masculine. We're both in a flux of flow between these two. So how do we currently define femininity? I think for many of us, when this first comes to mind, we envision celebrities, kind of that goddess archetype, very glammed out, beautiful, you know, maybe large breasts, jewelry, makeup, the hair, nails, you know, the whole kind of nine, like looking good. We also picture her just being like kind of very soft-spoken and kind and maybe a little bashful, you know, doesn't want to rock the boat or upset anyone. No association with negative emotions. You know, she's calm, she's nurturing, she's kind. And there's also this comparison that comes up, is like, well, who is more feminine than this person? Or kind of this comparison between who can be the most feminine. And I think in particular in my life, through like junior high, high school, like I definitely felt that competition. And I think something really shifted within myself after giving birth, that my womb awokened and I saw that like we are all these wild women sharing our different perspectives. So that was able to shift for me. But the association with the feminine is this very beautiful, soft, kind of calm, nurturing, mother-like energy, but also kind of like this very like beautiful, kind of sultry a little bit, but not too sultry, because that would be like too far on the spectrum for most people. But what is the feminine really? As I'm sure you know if you're watching this, it's not linear or logical. It's not always this calm, kind of nurturing. It is within our being. We're to be cyclical. We are cyclical beings. Through each lunar cycle, our body is moving through the 4 seasons within this kind of earth embodiment that we're able to tap into. The feminine is really about, and this is where we've been cut off, the feminine is about flow. Let me tell you that. It's about feeling and flowing with what we feel, felt expression. So women who are strongly in the true feminine, kind of the real feminine, I should say, they're seen as chaotic, irrational, emotional, and just truly, like, the world we live in is really masculine, very much that linear, go, do, kind of next step, climb the ladder. But the feminine is a cycle. It's a constant coming back to lessons, re-evaluating, having high emotions, low emotions, just really this cyclical thing. And the world we live in is not conducive to feeling in this way. It's not conducive to flowing with that felt expression. And the feminine itself is about being, about flowing. And where I think we've forgotten, it's about the depth. It's about going into the depths of our emotion, the depths of our womb, to really connect with our purpose, who we are, and what we have to give to the world. And how do we, so we know how to feel. We feel things often, and I think if you're anything like me, you probably feel things that maybe you don't want to feel. And rather than feeling them, you scroll through your phone, or you go do some side cleaning that's been waiting for weeks anyway. You find something to disconnect from that feeling. So in order to really allow ourselves to flow, we need to to allow ourselves to truly feel these emotions, to not allow them to build up, to not set them aside to deal with later or talk about later, all of that, like, not right now, I can't deal with this now, or I don't want to seem irrational, emotional now. We'll come back to it. Every time we do that, we're further pushing away that feminine aspect, that ability for us to flow through these felt emotions. Looking at it from an energetic standpoint, when we kind of bottle up and hold back those emotions through distractions or kind of disconnecting from them, it causes energy blockages within our body. When energy isn't flowing freely within our body, that's when we experience disease, body aches, pains, maybe things just like not really flowing well through your life, events happening, those sorts of things. When we cut ourselves off from feeling, that's the result, is we're really harming our energetic body. Also, I think it's important to kind of define feelings versus emotions. So feelings are the expression of our body physiologically, emotionally, mentally, to like an energetic status. It's the way our bodies just kind of naturally are feeling, responding. An emotion is the kind of label, the feeling or title we have about the feelings. And so emotions are often labeled as like positive, negative, good or bad. Where feelings, when we take the emotion out of it and just notice what the feeling is, notice where we're feeling, where's the sensation coming from in your body? Is it from, you know, kind of your stomach? Is your stomach tensing? Your shoulders, do they feel heavy? Do they feel tight? Just feeling, really being mindful of the sensations allow you to connect back with that flow. And the more you do this, the deeper you're able to drop, the more wisdom you're able to gain from your own body and your intuition. So if you want to get somewhere in your anything, a spiritual practice, in your business, in your relationship, you need deeper exploration to move forward. So how do we connect with more of that depth within the feminine? And that is through embodiments. So to live embodied is to live fully inhabiting our body, and not only our physical body, but our mental body, our emotional body, our energetic body, our bliss body, really fully incorporating these kind of multidimensional aspects of the self. So often we're really living in our heads and blocking out our feelings just to kind of focus on productivity or not rocking the boat, that we close ourselves off from the world and all of those around us, especially, and unfortunately, it's most often those who are closest to us and really, really mean the most. We also can feel kind of without purpose and not sure like what we want or desire out of life. Through embodiments, through really connecting and dropping deeply within the body, we're able to one, we feel powerful, and we also feel our sensuality, our sexuality. Sex energy is life force energy. Everyone has an energetic womb space. Everyone can connect to the energetic womb space. And through this, all things are birthed, not just children or humans or babies, but projects, books, like arts, paintings, novels, poems, any creative thing that you're making out of nothing is coming from this energetic womb space. So this power is already within us. We just need to learn how to unlock it, to allow that feminine flow, kind of surrender, to move more freely through the body. And so kind of to understand, I had mentioned this a second ago, really to understand life force energy, it's constantly at play. We have the five kosha bodies is what they're called. In yoga, I do have a certification as a yoga teacher, so I do have some experience in this with the 5 koshas. One, we have our physical body, this very physical suit you're looking at, meat suit, I like to sometimes call it just our body, what we've got to move with. It requires food and water, kind of those really basic, if you're into psychology, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, really kind of at that base level. Are you meeting your physical needs? Shelter, food, water. Next, we have our energetic body. This is that life force body where we connect with a universal life force, God, the universe, whatever you may call it. And we're really channels of that energy, mixed with this very beautiful earth embodiment as we move through this experience as humans. Next, we have the emotional body. So this is associated with the heart, also kind of more associated with the masculine side of things and more of those feelings based, just the sensation again, feelings as a sensation. Moving on to the mental body, we have our thoughts. This one is associated most with the feminine and emotions, so it's kind of those labels we're giving things. This is information processing and really that quest, that drive for truth. That is the feminine calling from within us. Bliss body is linked to spirit, so it's when we are at one with spirit. You can often reach this through orgasm, and if pleasure practices are something you're curious on, I do have a course. You can find it in the link below that's going to share a pleasure practice for each phase of your inner season. And orgasmic state is a really great way to connect with this bliss body, sometimes through certain meditations or kind of mind-altering experiences, hallucinogens, that sort of thing. Lastly, we have true spirit. This is Atman. This is like all, I mean, just oneness, complete oneness with God, with Source. And so within our physical and energetic bodies, how we take care of our physical body, how we care for our energetic body impacts how we're doing in our emotional body, how we're doing in the mental body. So if you're not caring for your physical body, one, you probably are picking up energetic blockages within that kind of external energy body. The emotional body, your heart, you're maybe depressed, really sad, just down often. And the mental body, thoughts, maybe you have anxiety, just really ruminating thoughts. So this is where the frequency of the feminine, of earth embodiment, of this holistic way to care for ourselves really comes in. We can't just focus on like the nutrients or just focus on exercising and overall we'll feel better. It's about bringing balance to these 5 bodies that make up this very one experience that we have. So as feminine beings, we really have become disconnected from our skill of sensitivity. Being in this masculine world, disconnected from that depth and flow of the feminine, we need to learn to acknowledge our feelings. And not only acknowledge our feelings, but to really feel our feelings. Integrate them in a way that serves not only us, but the greater collective and those around us. And become intimate with the senses. There is, okay, so first, acknowledging our feelings. And I'd love to kind of hear if you want to drop in the comments, where do you find yourself? Are you often someone who is like kind of described as being a too sensitive or irrational, emotional, or maybe you're cold, numb, disconnected? These kind of are 2 bookends to a much greater spectrum. Everything in life is on a spectrum. Sexuality, beliefs, and feelings are one of them. So when we open ourselves up to really feeling deeper, right now you're probably feeling at a limited spectrum. Maybe you do some embodiments, you work on kind of connecting with your feminine, really feeling the emotions as they come up, what they're telling you, what they're asking of you to do to support your body at that time. By doing that, we're making our spectrum of emotions even bigger, allowing ourselves, one, to feel, yes, there will be lower lows. There will be times where you're just in the shadows, in the darkness, and that as well is part of the feminine experience, is really the dark mother energy, kind of the burn it down to build it all back up, that rebirth. But you also get the highest high. You get the ecstatic, orgasmic bliss body state. You get to feel good, pleasure, purpose, joy in your daily life, just by allowing yourselves to move through these emotions instead of bottling them up, instead of disconnecting and further really limiting your spectrum of what you feel and how, and your emotions that you kind of associate with those feelings. Next is feeling our feelings. So how do we do this? Brief disclaimer: if you are someone who has you know, trauma, which we all have, but major trauma, and this feels like too much, absolutely listen to your body. But for many of us who have gone through some of the, one of my dear friends explained it well, and if you're watching this, Bethany, sending you so much love, big T trauma and little t trauma. We all have little t trauma. Some of us have some big T trauma, and anywhere you fall on that spectrum, when we feel too much, that causes us to kind of contract a little bit, to disconnect from those emotions, really just as a way to protect ourselves. It's kind of our brain's way of being like, okay, let's block that out, disconnect from these sorts of things. And when we do this, we develop a blockage within our energy body. We're really suppressing that event emotion, and it's holding space within the energy body when we're not allowing it to fully be felt and expressed. Again, if this doesn't feel safe or comfortable to you, totally optional practice, but it is a good way if you have like more of the little T traumas or little things that you feel safe and confident to work through on your own. Excuse me. And okay. Also, we may shut down when we feel uncomfortable things rising, especially if we were raised in a way that didn't support healthy expression of emotion, about really communicating emotions, allowing them to pass. When we allow ourselves to connect with them, they typically last, I can't remember what the statistic was, but like 60 to 90 seconds. That's it. If you allowed your body to feel the stress, the anger for 60 to 90 seconds, rather than kind of bottling it down and distracting yourself with this, that, and the other thing, it would be over. It'd be free, clear, moved through the system. A definition I like for emotions is energy in motion. The energy, as I said, our bodies are constantly talking to us through, so what we're feeling through the physical body is a sign kind of from our higher self, speaking through our energy body, like, okay, this is something that needs to be moved, to be addressed. You need to do something about this. You need to serve us in this way. And when we take that time to just feel and drop into that emotion, that is when healing happens. That is when our biggest life changes happen. And when we lose our connection to the feelings, the messages they have, and the really that energy and movement, when we disconnect, we're placing the value of thinking over experiencing, and valid felt experience is just as valid as thinking. And by allowing ourselves to feel, to express, to move through, that really allows us to, one, widen our spectrum and drop even deeper into that feminine essence, that feminine frequency, which is all about the flow, about really dropping into the depths. So you've been feeling your feelings, you've been taking the time to really connect with them, allowing yourself for the most part to drop in when you're able to, and not kind of busy yourself or distract yourself through other things. How do we integrate them? How do we bring their meaning into something of purpose, of means, of, the word is distracting me, away from me. Can't even think of that word. But by allowing their meaning to come through. So when you feel something arising in your body, rather than giving it a label like, oh, I'm feeling anxious, or oh, I'm feeling depressed, just noticing what you're feeling, taking out the label from it, and just kind of being that unbiased observer. So like, okay, I'm just feeling heavy in my heart. Feeling kind of low, heavy shoulders. feeling kind of tired, just kind of taking notes, mentally writing things down if you want to, and ask yourself, what is the meaning of this? What is the core root of this feeling, of this experience, of this moment? What is my body trying to communicate with me? And just by asking yourself that question and sitting for a moment in silence, I promise it won't take long for intuition, for your higher self to speak with you and be like, this is what you need. And it's I should also say, it's not always so quick. Sometimes it'll come to you through a dream, through a later meditation, through a couple hours. You're like, oh, that's where I was disconnected. That's where I wasn't allowing myself and my power to lead the interaction or the experience or the moment. I kind of fell back into, fell out of that feminine frequency, forgot my power, my purpose, my kind of authority. So connect with your body, allow it to speak with you. The womb is always speaking with us. It's often through, when it comes to our menstrual cycle, through our earth embodiment, she speaks through loud storms, PMS symptoms, cramping, all of those sorts of things. But when it comes to a more kind of pleasure, energetic, kind of feeling, emotional needs, I like to think she speaks in whispers. She's not so loud, but she's more like whispering to your senses. A great way she whispers our pleasure is through the senses for sure. Touching, smelling, sight, taste. Another way to connect with the depth of the feminine is connecting with our sensuality, with our pleasure. So allow yourself to listen to those womb whispers, those whispers of desire, to touch the flower petals, to smell the roses, to eat the fruit in a seductive way, like make love to your food. Touch is another really good one. I started just, rather than like nicely scooping out my avocado, just squish it between your hands, kind of that little, it also really connects with our inner child, that kind of playful, everything in life is magical energy. So this is a really good way to start to integrate some of that deep feminine through the pleasure, and some like tantric practices would also be really great in integrating the feminine frequencies in that way. Lastly, how do we become intimate with our senses? So we don't want to feel pain. We don't want to feel discomfort or hurt, loss. But by avoiding these sorts of feelings, experiences, we're shortening our sensation, our spectrum of sensation. And really, when we narrow our ability to feel one way, so if we're not letting ourselves go to those painful places, we're not going to get much higher on the positive side of the spectrum either. We're kind of stuck. They kind of work simultaneously in tandem that way. So embrace all emotions equally, without judgment. Remember, they're just feelings. Your body is just trying to communicate something through these feelings that you're having. Your mind is associating them with an emotion, kind of giving them a label, a title. Best practice is shift into asking. So even just like within common occurrences or work things, anything that comes up in your life, we're so quick to be like, what do you think of that? Thinking, being is very much in that masculine. And one thing you'll notice if you have a conversation with me is I often will ask, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? How does that feel in your body? And you can kind of apply that to any sort of question or decision you need to make, is how is this choice feel in my body? What feelings are coming up? Is it one of support or one that's like, pause, not now? Just a really great way to remind ourselves to not cut off from the negative or hard emotions, but allow them fully, embrace them all, just as you would the high, positive, feel-good emotions, because it's all part of a spectrum. You're not going to be down forever, I promise you. So yes, that's the frequency of the feminine. And if you are really interested in connecting even more deeply with the feminine energies, I do have a de-armoring the vagina video that you can find. It's linked through my profile, so head over there and you can find the link to that. This is going to be a practice that really talks you through connecting with the vagina, with the yoni, in a really intentional, mindful way, using a toy to ease up any tension, pain, numbness, discomfort, allowing yourself to feel more pleasure, to feel more bliss and orgasmic states. So check out that. I'd love to hear if these videos are resonating with you, if you're feeling called to dive deeper, if you just want to talk or chat through anything that is related to this or not at all. Send me a message. I love hearing from you all, and sending you all so much love. Thanks for the time.